Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great viewer question, and that is to understand female psychopathic manipulation. How do they coax and seduce and guide their prey to become under their control, to become under their thumb, to become under their power, under their reign, not just as an influence, but sort of an all-over takeover, if you will, that really becomes a very complete and oftentimes what becomes a character assassination, where you're really your own identity, your I am, your reputation is up for grabs or annihilated or smeared or made to be null and void or sort of powerless. So in other words, a lot of situations that they try to get you or throw you off center, off kilter, break you down is really one of the important aspects, I would say, out of this very intense and great question. There is so much involved. There is so much complexity that you really, really have to understand how this type of influence is different and is processed and digested and processed physiologically and kinesthetically, as well as emotionally, psychologically, spiritual, everything is really implicated and involved. So, and it will, and namely that of sort of coming off center, or what I would consider your own organic type of communication, your thought process, your decision-making process, your decisiveness, your judgment become skewed and disordered. I would say in the manipulation phase, an individual who has a regular sense of empathy, it's to understand that part of the human being is to understand that you have empathy and something called mirror neurons, where you feel what another is feeling. Like if they have a stomach ache, you might feel, ow, that must hurt. Or you see them throwing up and then you get a stomach ache. You see somebody with a broken arm and you go, you have mirror neurons. You can feel feelings. And so these are alive and on 24/7. And these are like lit up and set on fire, if you will. And you then begin to feel a sense of maybe being off. I would say, namely, it would be described as maybe being off center, off focused. I would say not yourself, not your authentic self, or based on your true foundation, your truth, who and what you are, what you want to become, your vision for your future, living the dream, pursuit of abundance, pursuit of happiness, pursuit of fun relationships. That whole big pie is really what becomes really sort of leveled out, hollowed out, and then replaced by a surrogacy sort of thought process and emotional decision-making profile, if you will, within others. And they establish this through gaslighting, pathological lying, deception, conning. I mean, these are all, entrapment. There's all sorts of different things the way that they do this. But number one, I want to impress upon you about the female psychopath who breaks you down. It is, with the manipulation, to understand is how they do this. There is a very caustic energy you might consider strength or their allure or their personality. I mean, this is just an overarching energy that you might feel coming off of them. And this energy is very all-encompassing, very strong, very potent, very manipulative, gets people to sort of be disoriented, if you will. A lot of people take this disorientation almost like a mind-altering drug. It can be received as quite a relief for people. For example, if they haven't been with a strong woman or a strong female or what have you before, this might, seem to, I would think, alleviate a lot of men's pressure to be the leader, to be the one, to be the dominator, to make all the decisions. Oftentimes I would say the female psychopath will manipulate and break people down to the point where they are very weak for themselves, i.e. off kilter, and that makes it easier for them to manipulate and influence. So whether they encourage you to be off track in a number of ways, incendiary ways, is important to understand how the manipulation begins. In other words, do they constantly break your train of thought? Do they, you're thinking, oh, no. And then next thing you know, you can't forget what you were talking about. Let's do this, or I want to do this, or I want to, you have a goal. You want to buy a house. You want to go golfing, you want to go fishing, you want to travel. Oh, no. Don't you want to, and then pretty soon, they find more enticing, more seductive, more alluring, more dramatic ways to sort of remove your vision and cloud your vision and then install it with their own. And it's a very sort of, I would say it can be a very quick process, meaning it can happen in one fell swoop, or it can happen in a number of interactions. But namely, I would say is that there is going to be a breaking down of people, weakening them. Maybe you're not eating, you're tired, you're not able to focus on your work when you're supposed to. Look at this picture, look at this video, and then let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And so they might change the subject quite a bit. Little tactics that throw people off and then get people sort of behind, if you will. And they lose footing, they lose traction, they lose the ground that they are standing on. And oftentimes they will weaken others through a number of abusive behaviors, I would say, and tactics that they are one to utilize quite a bit. Namely that of creating and installing a sort of self-doubt or self-deprecation, or you don't know what's going on, so let me take it over from here. There's this sort of, where they sort of replace what is the usual for you, the normal, turn it around, make it stupid, boring, ineffective, what you want to, get away from, and then sort of replace it with their identity, their focus, their center. And so it's kind of like if you have a Ford engine in a Maserati body, or likewise, it's kind of like a different, it's like having a different engine put it and installed in the car, but with the same gears. It might work, but it might not work very well. You're going to find some pistons that are going to go awry. You're going to find some fluids leaking. You're going to get some things that are going to blow a gasket, i.e. your natural normal homeostasis, your neurochemical, your central nervous system, your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. It gets, really sort of hit on high alert. That you might get the endorphins going, or the adrenals, because of this sort of switch of your routine, switch of how you do things. Maybe even a radical change of, how you sleep or not sleep, whether you drink or don't drink. Drugs, it becomes a mind-altering experience, but not in the empowering sense. I would say it becomes into a sort of, it edges on delusionary sense, which is very scary because it's a experience that most people don't know how to own, because it has been cultivated in them by a manipulator. And the problem, once again, is that oftentimes the person who is getting targeted is getting victimized. It's not just getting targeted, let me help you get through to here. There's something more. There is, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Just sort of, going after your credibility. I mean, things that have taken you a long while to establish. Your credibility, your reputation. This might be the one, your credibility or your reputation in your family. Okay, that, people love you and and then next thing you know, whispering things to people, sort of trying to change the power in the organization, the dynamic, the system. And so going after that, but it's under your nose, behind your back, under your ear, behind your knees. When you're not looking, look over there, it's over here. I mean, this is the sort of what they do all the time. It is business as usual for them. Some people, oh, that's just their personality. Isn't that funny? Oh, they're just that way. Don't worry about it. Don't, in one ear, out the other. It's not always that easy, okay? And oftentimes it's once you've been steeped in this, and this has been brewing for some time, that people really wake up and notice. And it's usually in hindsight where they're then going, whoa, I took some valley off-road moments. This is, this put me in a very disempowered state, meaning certain tactics like the pathological lying, the sort of purposely omitting details. I spent this on that, and then, I went here and there, and you don't get the details. Oh, well, where did you have your, and then, oh, I was just on the thing. In other words, purposely omitting important details so you won't be able to have a true and honest and open, honest communication. You cannot bring it to light. They are trying to keep things very secretive and in the dark. You might even feel that there is a certain sort of darkness or almost like an energy, not that they're giving light, but they're taking light. So it's a very different energy flow that you will feel around these people. You might feel that they are not really giving, but yet they, quote unquote, air quotes, give, of themselves. But it is very confusing because oftentimes people have not encountered this type of energy before. And so, and the character assassination is to make you so insecure and so self-doubting, namely so insecure that you just don't believe in yourself, and then you end up just giving up and by default allowing them to take over. I mean, people will it's like a hot potato. They can't, it becomes an intolerable tension. It becomes an intolerable mental stress. It becomes so confrontational, or the insecurity, the sort of jabs, underneath the knee, under the gut, behind the rib, and behind, the liver, and through the other side is how they like to how they like to hurt. Sort of attacks, whether you're things then become as a threat. So they have sort of this pathological envy and jealousy, which just means they just want to dominate. So, they want to sort of, if they're creating insecurity, it's usually because I feel that there's some quality in abundance that other person has that they don't have. Really, namely that of a sort of genuineness of character, wholesomeness, the ability to give affection, the ability to communicate true feelings. So a lot of these are qualities. Remember, the female psychopath is really sort of cold and unfeeling. They don't have that in their toolbox. They don't have that spinning in the engine. There ain't no pistons that have empathy. There ain't no pistons that have a moral consciousness. These are not working in their system. It's just not, but they pretend and mimic and then mock as if. So as if they are those things, they will put on a persona and a mask. But the problem then is they'll make you feel so insecure that you become like putty in their hands. The character assassination. You are stupid. You don't know the facts. You don't know how to live. You don't know how to ride a bike. You don't know, anything. It's basically whatever it is that they want to have you disown about yourself. It becomes a disowning of self coupled with an attraction. So it becomes this very lethal connection of how can I people please and then self destroy. I mean, it becomes this very, very, very horrific, I would say, combination of neurochemicals and experiences that people who are targeted and then to be victimized will go through. And And then, namely, a lot of the insecurity is then reinforced through a number of different ways, namely that of a psychopathic word salad, just very indirect communication, saying things over in the corner of the room, that doesn't make any sense, whispering things that, did you hear that or did you not? Sort of, and these are meant to be very enigmatic and puzzling, which means, again, with a manipulation to make you think, uh-oh, I better step up my game if I'm to understand what that psychobabble or that psychopathic word salad is meaning. Narcissists will do the same thing. So realize that this is how they create that insecurity so that people can't see, feel, think, decide, and protect themselves. It's a very, very important tactic that you understand the inner workings. More on this later. This is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope that the videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Have a beautiful day.